The draft of the National Audit Bill was passed in Parliament with amendments today. The draft bill was passed without a vote.
The National Audit Bill was a key pledge of the Good Governance government and was to be adopted within the first 100 days of this government coming into power.
The National Audit Commission was among the independent commissions mentioned in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
Members of the Commission have also been appointed.
The big areas of concern was the power audit. Secondly has been the duties of the Chief Accounting Officer as Secretary and of the accounting officers. They are held responsible. How are the directions to be given? So this actually, it was only when the Audit Commission bill came in and the disputes are taking place. For instance, I realized, having been in government, how detailed the working out of the government expenditure and the audit was. That it cut through all the three different branches of government. So these were issues that had been sorted. Even after we tabled the bill in April, there were still amendments coming in from some of the public bodies. But all have been accommodated now, and I hope these are satisfactory bill. And when it becomes law, we must give a chance for this law to come in to be executed.
The question we have is, are they going to make the Auditor General and officials of the department empty scarecrows by removing their bones, blood, flesh and veins to publicize something called the National Audit Bill? We propose 16 proposals as amendments which bring this back to life. The way it is now, the thieves, fraudsters, abusers of state finances, criminals and central bank thieves are never going to be afraid of what will be passed here, because nothing will happen to them. This bill proposes to impose a maximum fine of 100,000 rupees for an offence. You have presented an amendment today to reduce this 100,000 rupee fine further to 5,000 rupees. So even if you rob millions of rupees, rob the central bank, the CB, or if any official or ministry secretary aids and abets you to commit a robbery, you are fined 5,000 rupees according to this National Audit Bill. We propose to make the minimum fine 5,000 rupees. I have the cabinet paper signed by the Prime Minister himself, the Minister of National Policies, after it had been discussed at the Sectoral Oversight Committee and Finance Committee as well as Cabinet. I am tabling this cabinet paper now. This cabinet paper proposes to reduce the 100,000 rupee fine to 5,000 rupees. The first clause in the bill has limited the Auditor General subject where all expenses made through the consolidated fund should be audited.
The penal code nor any other criminal law gets abolished when this act is brought in. If there has been a fraud in the central bank bond issue, this law can be followed. There is no such thing where it could be recorded as a minor offence and ended from there. The country's criminal law remains as it is. Do not undermine this act like you are doing now.
If the process of imposing surcharges is required, it can be postponed until the person goes on pension, because nowhere does it mention here when the disciplinary action can be concluded. The other issue is there is a surcharge appeal committee which is appointed by the Constitutional Council. This means that no one in the National Audit Service can come into this. So anyone with an expertise in auditing will have to come in. Where can you find someone like that? It would have to be a private auditor.
It would be a retired auditor who would be appointed. That is how the appointments for the other commissions were made as well.
It is the secretaries who have the power to decide whether or not it is suitable to impose this offence on officials who are not ministry secretaries. But it is the President who is vested with the power of imposing offences on secretaries. This act has not fulfilled justice for the secretaries, as it does not mention the process a secretary has to follow to file an appeal.
The offence will be decided after this appeals process. Imposing offences will happen under the normal procedure. Offences concerning the secretary will also take place after the appeals, and it will be implemented by the President, because it is the President who has the power to make the appointments.
It says reports on internal audits have to be sent to the Auditor General's department. You have removed this. Even after it has been presented to Parliament, there are new cabinet amendments coming in this morning. It proposes to reduce the 100,000 rupee fine to 5,000 rupees. Stop the internal audit reports from being sent to the Auditor General. Remove the power of the Auditor General of issuing recommendations to auditors, and for institutions taken over by the government to be made state institutions. Are you crazy? Why would you do this?
Honourable Minister Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe said when he tried to bring in this act in 2004, he wasn't allowed to do so. I would like to know who was it that did not allow you to bring this act in 2004?
It was when we were members of the Legal Commission in 2004. After the bill was drafted, we completed it by 2005. You must ask that question from the government which was in power since 2005.